Greetings and salutations, my friends. This is Donnie Henderson, host of the OC Show, and I would like to welcome you to my latest installment of the OC Show. Thank you very much for all the positive feedback, all the views, all the likes, all the subscribes, but please continue. I need more likes, need more subscribes, need more views. Please spread the word around about the OC Show so that I can grow this show to make it what it can be. Thanks so much for everyone who supported so far. Much appreciated. Like, subscribe, and show support to the OC Show. Sports Jewel. Sports Jewel today brought to you by IDS Hair Care Products. Integrity. IDS Hair Care Products. We have a new sponsor, and I'm so excited about this new sponsor because that sponsor came to me and said, "Hey, can we do a spot on your show? We're going to send you some of our products, and I want you to, talk up some of our products on your show." And I said, absolutely, I would do that. IDS Hair Care Products, a couple of things that I was sent and a couple of things that I have incorporated in my daily use now, because self-care is masculine. Self-care is something that men should do as well. IDS Hair Care Products have products for men and women, but obviously I was sent stuff for men, so I'm going to talk up the men's stuff here real quick. The Beard Skin and Butter IDS Luxe Men Collection. Now, I have very sensitive skin, and I can't just use any kind of humdrum lotion on my face or on my body because it just doesn't work. My skin just soaks that right up and it dries right out. I have to say, the Beard and Skin Butter works great. For those of you who have sensitive skin, smells great, looks great. After a nice shave, you put some of that on there. It's a really good feeling on the skin, and it lasts throughout the day. That's my issue. Stuff just doesn't last for me as far as my dry skin, and I'm not alone in that, having a dry skin issue. The Beard and Skin Butter is great. I was also sent some of the organic aloe scalp and hair refresher. Very good to, put on the hair, combing your hair down, you guys. Bump fighting skin soothing cream, and I was also sent some of the hemp beard shampoo. All great products for men and women. Please support IDS Hair Care Solutions. Information, we've got a QR code up on the side here for the website and products and details. Please support Integrity IDS Hair Care Products. Again, one of our sponsors here at the OC Show. Sports Jewel, again, brought to you by IDS Hair Care Products. Sports Jewel. You've all heard the old saying, like father, like son. Like father, like son. And I can go in a whole different direction with this, but I'm going to keep it sports. But I am going to shout out to my father, because if I could be half the guy that my father is, I'd be a pretty good guy. That being said, in the community and in our world, in our country, fatherhood is important. Being present fathers, being good fathers, that's an important thing. And it's not something to be overshadowed, because a lot of times our society will throw the father aside and throw, good fathers and good parents aside because of other agendas. Fathering is important. Fathers are very essential to a wholesome and a very strong community. So I'll get off of that soapbox for a moment. But like father, like son, in sports, there's several different examples of father and son pairings, and fathers and sons playing the same sport, like the Griffeys, Griffey Jr., Griffey Sr. is one of the most famous examples of fathers and sons. They both played baseball. Then you have Rick Barry and Brent Barry, father and son, in basketball. They're both professional basketball players, Rick Barry being a Hall of Famer. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Sr., another basketball example. And you got the Currys, and yet another example in basketball. You have the Brett Hull, Bobby Hull, a lot of different fathers and sons, following in the footsteps of their father. Now, the one thing with all the examples that I just gave, all of those examples, those fathers and sons play the same sport. That leads me to the Petrie family. Being a Detroiter, being a Detroit Tigers fan. Dan Petrie was a Detroit Tigers pitcher for about 10 or 11 seasons. He did pitch for the 1984 championship team. So Dan Petrie is a champion in the city of Detroit. Dan Petrie, like many other athletes, had children who were involved in athletics. Dan Petrie's son, Jeff, after Dan Petrie got traded to the California Angels, the now Anaheim Angels, then California Angels, got traded to the California Angels. Dan and his wife had some children, and one of his children named Jeff was born out in California. After Dan Petrie retired from baseball, they moved back to the state of Michigan in the Grosse Pointe area, I believe. And so Dan Petrie's sons and his children grew up in Michigan. And in Michigan, the influence in especially public schools are baseball and a lot of times hockey, because right around the time that Jeff was a young man, young impressionable kid, the Detroit Red Wings went on their really 25-year long run of being in the playoffs and big hot streak. So Jeff Petrie played baseball and hockey. Baseball, probably because his father played baseball and played hockey. He loved hockey. And at one point or another, you're going to have to choose. And like I tell my kids, you're going to have to choose one or the other. You can't do everything. And so Jeff chose hockey. And his father went right behind him and supported him. Chose hockey, played a little bit of minor league hockey, played at Michigan State. Jeff did in hockey and then became a professional. What is the sports jewel part about all this? Fathers and sons, being professional athletes, following your father's footsteps. As a Detroiter, and a lot of Detroiters watch my show, Dan Petrie's son, Jeff, was acquired by the Detroit Red Wings. And so now, not only do we have that great, professional athlete father, professional athlete son, but both of these gentlemen are going to end up playing for the city of Detroit. And what's so great about it is that Jeff gives credits a lot of his love for sports and the love for hockey to the city of Detroit. And so it's just a great story. It's a great feel good thing. We hear so many bad things in sports about how so and so does this and does that, but to have a feel good story like that, a young man in a sense coming home, is great. And not only is he coming home to play for the Detroit Red Wings, where his father played for the Detroit Tigers, he will be wearing the number 46 just like Dan Petrie did all those years ago for the Detroit Tigers. So hats off and good luck to Dan Petrie's son, Jeff Petrie, for the Detroit Red Wings. Hopefully we can get some playoffs out of that now and get back on to our winning ways as Detroiters, because as Detroiters know, we are starved for a winner. Hopefully he can help with the Red Wings. Hopefully the Lions do something later on, but we're not talking about the Lions today. Not yet, because we are going to go right to the next segment, because I am in the middle of doing predictions for the upcoming NFL season. And last show we did NFC East, AFC East. This show we are going to do the South, AFC South, NFC South. Predictions, roll them all off real quick right here. Who do I think is going to win the division? Who do I think is going to stink in the division? Here I am going to give you that information right now. Starting with the AFC South. The AFC South. Oh, when you think of the AFC South, what do you think of? What comes to mind? Nothing really exciting. Not that great. AFC South, but we're going to do it anyway. AFC South. Fourth place, I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. I'm going to stay with the Houston Texans. Last season, they were 13-1. They missed the playoffs, obviously. Houston Texans did have the second pick of the draft, C.J. Stroud. Not impressed with what they have going on as far as their roster. Nothing to really talk about there. Houston Texans going to probably bring up the rear in the AFC South, fourth place. Maybe improve a little bit, but I just don't see anything. Don't see anything great. Nothing really great to talk about there. Third place, my prediction for third place will be the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts. Now, with a lot of these divisions, you can kind of go back and forth between second and third place. I'm kind of with that one on this one, because I think the Indianapolis Colts are on a little bit more of an upswing, but I don't think they're going to upswing quite enough. They did finish last year with a 4-12 record. They've got that boomer bust prospect with Anthony Richardson with the 4th overall pick they had in the draft. Just not sold on what they got going on in Indianapolis quite yet, but I think they are kind of headed in the right direction. Just not quite enough of a direction to get past the 3rd place. 2nd place in the AFC South, I have the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans finished last season with 7-10 record, missed the playoffs. They ended their 6-year streak of winning records with that 7-10 record. Ryan Tannehill missed some time. That probably did attribute to their 7-10 record, and not, maybe a 10-7 record. Running back Derrick Henry, although he has been dominant over the years, is not getting any younger. He's getting more and more beat up. Derrick Henry is still a force to be reckoned with. That's why I do have them in 2nd place, because he's going to win them 2 or 3 games by himself. But Tennessee Titans 2nd place. And I'm going to go with, as the 1st place team this season, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they're a real great story. They won the AFC South last season with a 9-8 record. Won that game against the Chargers. The Chargers ought to be ashamed of themselves still. The Chargers still should be ashamed of themselves. I'll get to the Chargers here in another show. They should be ashamed of themselves for losing that playoff game to the Jaguars. But credit to the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, who has become one of the – he has to be considered a top 15 quarterback at this point, if not a top 10 quarterback. They've got their guy with Trevor Lawrence. They're going to win the division one more time. AFC South champions again, Jacksonville Jaguars. The defense has improved from last year, which, they did come up with some huge stops in several games late last season. I got nothing but love for the Jaguars. 1st place, AFC South. Moving on to the NFC South. NFC South. What's going to happen? Now, the NFC South is a little bit more crazy of a division, because last season, that's probably the craziest division of all divisions. 3 teams finished with the same record, and you're gonna hear that record 3 different times, because I'm gonna tell you what the record was last year. The NFC South, they just tripped all in front of themselves, up all over themselves, because they just couldn't get out of their own way. The definition of beat up on each other was the NFC South last year, and I don't think it's gonna be too much different. But who's gonna bring up the rear in the NFC South? I'll tell you right now, NFC South, I think that we're gonna go from first to worst with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because guess who's not knocking on that door? Tom Brady is gone. He is gone. No Tom Brady. We're going to take a true step back. We're in rebuild mode here in Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be last in the division. They did win the division last year with an 8-9 record, lost to the 49ers in the playoffs. But we don't know what the heck's going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this point. You got Baker Mayfield as your starting quarterback now. I don't trust it. Don't trust him. No good. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 4th place in the division, NFC South. Who's going to be 3rd place? Now, this one was difficult. I went back and forth. But my pick for the 3rd place team in the NFC South will be the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, who finished 7-10 last season, missed the playoffs. But during the offseason, they did address some different things as far as defensively. Acquiring Jeff Okudah from the Detroit Lions is one of those things, but Jeff Okudah got hurt in training camp, so hopefully he can recover. Is Jeff Okudah made of glass? That's a whole nother subject, so I'm going to have to throw a little shade right there, because I'm glad they got rid of him, because the man got hurt. I don't wish anybody to be hurt, but I don't want any of my team's players to be hurt. But unfortunately for the Falcons, Jeff Okudah's hurt. And another reason they're going to be with the 3rd place, I'm not really trusting quarterback Desmond Ridder. Prove me wrong, young man. Desmond Ridder, prove me wrong. I don't see it. I don't see him leading the Atlanta Falcons to any type of success this season. Again, they're in a build mode here. I think they are going to be probably around the same with that 7-10, maybe a little improved. They could. It's going back and forth between 2nd and 3rd place, because then I'll just go right to my 2nd place team, who are the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers, 7-10 last year, missed the playoffs, but I think the decision to take Bryce Young overall was a great decision. I think that Bryce Young is going to uh, jumpstart that offense. They did get some established wideouts with DJ Chark, Adam Thielen, and they also have a reliable tight end, Hayden Hurst, to kind of help with the growing pains of Bryce Young. So I think that they're going to be a hair better than the Atlanta Falcons. Still kind of hit or miss with them. Their defense is still very, very young. Hopefully they can improve, but I'm picking the Carolina Panthers to be second place in the NFC South. But who's that leave? Well, it leaves the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints, who are also 7-10 last season. But I think they're gonna build upon those 7 wins and kind of probably reverse that to have a 10-7 record. This division is a mess in a good way because they just beat up on each other. There's not a team that's going to be head and shoulders above the rest. Any one of these 3 teams, the Falcons, Panthers, or Saints, could win the division. I'm just picking the Saints. I'm picking the Saints because they picked up veteran Derek Carr at the quarterback position. I think out of all the quarterbacks in the division, he's the best quarterback in the division. Simply put, if you got the best quarterback in the division, you should win in the division. You still have Alvin Kamara, who is suspended, but the pickup of Jamal Williams from the Detroit Lions, and you've got a great you got the offensive player of the year, Michael Thomas. The Saints are a team that they have the veterans on the team that'll be able to kind of help out the younger folks that are on that team, the younger players, the rookies, the younger second-year players on the team to be able to probably win that division. Again, between the Panthers, between the Saints, between the Falcons, I think either one of those teams can win the division, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just picking the Saints because they got the better quarterback. We are going to be back sooner than later. I've got the North and I've got the West to contend with. Next is going to be the West teams, AFC West, NFC West. My predictions will come up on the next show, on the next episode of the OC Show. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you later. We're out.